good morning, evening, or afternoon, whichever one's going on for you at this current point in time. We have a green towel today, which means we're talking about Ryobi. Specifically, we're going to be complaining about Ryobi today. If you are a Ryobi hater, welcome. We have refreshments in the back. Feel free to pick any seat you like, and stay tuned. Now, the blower is off to my right here. I'm going to show you in a second, but the model number is RY404013VNM. That'll be somewhere here on the screen, and in case you wanted to check it out, I will leave a link to the blower in the description. You can check it out for yourself. Maybe you want something more powerful, you can check that out. Maybe you want something on the weaker side, you don't need that much strength. Also, again, just keeping you informed. Now, I do highly recommend, whether you're in the 18 volt or the 40 volt or both, go for the Whisper series. It's quieter, it's super effective. I always get compliments when I'm outside. Oh my God, how much did you pay for that? Where'd you get that? No gas, it's super quiet, it's nice. In the place that I live, when you have over 170 cities and towns, I live in a place that's like 84th in terms of safety. It is not good here. Like 1 in 38, you have a 1 in 38 chance of crime rate happening to you, potentially violent crimes as well, and you're trying to avoid getting into an argument with somebody over noise. Now, overall, I have had this tool for the better part of 2 years, so I'm capable of talking about it. I've used it enough to be comfortable with it, and I'm going to highlight the top 3 things that I don't like about it. Everything else is pretty good, but these things could be changed for future generations of this tool. Again, it's already brushless, it's already Whisper, so if we can just make this better designs, it will be more ergonomically pleasing and last a lot longer, which means more people will get it and they don't have to keep updating the tool. They can just keep making it. There's a reason that the 260620 drill from Milwaukee, they're still making it today. There's a reason that the 2457-20 Milwaukee cordless ratchet, the brushed one, is still being made today. It's because they're still good tools and they're still being made with the same technology. They're just good. So if Ryobi can make really good tools, they can sell them for longer years rather than just continuously dropping one and then making a newer, slightly better version. Just make it good and sell it for a while. That's what they did with Dyson vacuums, Hoover vacuums, Dirt Devil vacuum. I'm done. Let's go over to the, I'm done. Let's go over to the yes, blower. Here we have her in all her beauty. Old Reliable here. Not really old. She's in great condition physically, because I do clean my tools after every use, but this silver strip right here, let me show you what it is. Big issue. Now if I zoom in here, yes, this is duct tape. Now the reason I had to duct tape this is because the actual tube is disconnected from the body. Now this is supposed to happen if it was working correctly. However, here we have the culprit. Now this is the tab that is naturally connected to the tube. This, if I just flip it on its side, at the bottom, it's supposed to be right here. See how it's all cracked and cut? The tab here snapped off, and that's what's supposed to be holding this in place. Like so. It's supposed to be holding it to the body. This cracked off. I've tried glue, I've tried solder, I've tried everything. It just doesn't hold to this like really gnarly plastic. And so without this, anytime you put the tube on, when you hit that trigger, your tube is going to go flying off of your blower. That's unacceptable. Now I've already talked to Ryobi about it. Because it's considered abuse of your tool. Again, I have never thrown this down. I don't set it on the ground. I have never abused my tool ever. They consider it under wear and tear / abuse, so they don't cover sending me a replacement 40 volt tube. Now, I wouldn't want it anyways, because if it has this same tab condition, it's just going to snap off and then I'm right back where I started. The same thing happens with any of the blower attachments. They all have this tab, which means when this cracks off, this is useless. If you go on eBay because for whatever reason you really want one, but Ryobi doesn't even sell them, you will be paying the better part of $40 to $60, depending on who you find, to get a replacement one of these, just for it to potentially snap off anyways, and then you're right back where you started, but you've lost money in the process. Now before we move on from the whole taping situation, again, it is fully functional as long as it's taped on like this. The only difference is because I have a smaller apartment, I like to take my tool in half and store it on a shelf because it takes up much less space. But again, somebody might be putting it in the shed, in the attic, in the basement, in the, I don't know, garage or something. So if you're going to keep it whole, it shouldn't be a crazy issue. Just keep an eye out that the tab doesn't show any signs of like a white bending, because eventually they get frail and will just snap. So the last thing that I could potentially do is do plastic welding, if you've ever seen that. But one, I don't feel like paying that much money for a plastic welding machine for one tool. And two, because it would probably fall under the category of modification to your tool, it may void my warranty. Again, Ryobi has a 3-year warranty, so it's possible that even if just the machine part stops working, I could potentially get a replacement and then just tape this tube to the replacement. So I don't want to void my warranty. But yes, I know that plastic welding is potentially my last fix. But the tape is working fine, so every so often when this starts peeling out, just put a nice fresh layer of tape and that's it. So my channel is not just about bashing tools or raising them up, it's also talking about fixing tools, because why not? I make unnecessary notes specifically so everybody can benefit from them, and if you don't, then it's just extra information floating up in the air. Now with these, you can see these detent rings. This is potentially one fix for the tool. Rather than having just a plastic tab, potentially doing something like they did with this insert, but inside the tube there would be holes, and on the tool itself there would be detent rings that would potentially hold the tube onto the body. That's one design possibility, or potentially 2 inlets with threaded inserts that are inside, made of metal, that would go into, you know, you could just add 2 screws to the box, and we could potentially have some kind of reinforced flange that would screw the tube to the body. That's just 2 ways to do it. I'm not saying it's the perfect way. I'm not saying it will be the way. Just saying those are 2 alternatives to just this small tab that when it cracks, that's, you know, it's either tape or crazy glue or super glue. I'm pretty sure there's people out there with JB Weld just RTVing this thing. So don't void your warranty. Just kind of don't touch it. If it works, it works. A little bit of tape. This is not voiding warranty by any means, but you don't want to make any permanent decisions that could potentially ruin your chance of getting a new one if your 3 years is not up and something happens to your machine. Again, not saying it will, just saying if it does. Next, we have the paddle or lever style trigger. Now this right here, it's super simple, very easy. Grab it with your index finger, maybe your first 2 fingers. The thumb is going to naturally fall to that turbo button and to the holding knob that's going to allow you to keep that speed up without having to hold that trigger down. Again, all of my tools are variable triggers, and I can appreciate that. However, we got an issue. If you look closely, maybe you can't really tell, but there is a lot of play in this button, not only laterally, but also up and down. Again, variable triggers, you want them to be very precise when they're going through the steps. So having that looseness, not ideal. Now again, speaking of loose triggers, this is the 2457 Milwaukee, right? Cordless ratchet. I would like to see this paddle disappear from this tool because the real magic is just this button. That's perfectly fine. But a paddle like this that is metal with a small pin that you can tap out with a punch that's securing the paddle to your tool. If we could have something like that here, where if we needed to replace a bent or broken trigger, which again wouldn't happen because it's a reinforced metal situation, all you would have to do is just tap out the trigger and replace it, as opposed to having to take the tool apart and then replace the entire trigger mechanism that's inside. We don't want to do that. Again, I understand the whole point is to save money with plastic, but they could just make a metal trigger and then a small silicone patch right here, like a rubberized molding, just so that there's no scraping of the metal against the plastic if you happen to squeeze the trigger too hard. That's just one way to solve it. Again, you could change the area of motion, right, or the range of motion, and it wouldn't be able to scratch the tool in the first place. Again, these are all things that need to be researched and developed. So Everybody's a little bit different, but that's just a way to fix that situation. Again, it does its job, but I would like to see something a little more robust. Now at the top of the tool, we have a little bit of a concern, not necessarily in terms of its function because it works functionally fine. However, this feels very similar to like a toy. I would like to see something a little better in terms of design. And let me give you an example. When you are changing the speed on your fan or an air conditioner, or maybe you're unlocking or locking your phone, the volume buttons, you get this nice tactile feel. I'm going to put this next to my mic and you're going to hear that nice satisfying click. Hopefully you can pick this up. Right? So you get that nice satisfying click. It would be nice if this turbo mode, because even though there is a dial for you to turn so that you can keep the trigger down without having to pull it, you still have to have this button down and engaged the entire time to have access to turbo mode. It would be nice to just have a click button, you click it once, and now turbo mode is locked in. That means every time you pull the trigger, it will be turbo mode until you click it again. Again, there could be a little light. It doesn't even have to be fancy or backlit. I mean, it would be nice to have turbo backlit when it was on and then off when it's not. But even just like a little LED indicator, something up here, just to say that it's on or off. Or you can just click it and the button would be physically lower so you know it's engaged. And then when you tap it, it would come out a little more. But still, this very toy-esque thing, it's very wiggly. Again, I understand it's to hit from different angles, but it just feels very cheap. Again, that's just me from a design point. Again, no shade to Ryobi. This is just my ideas, again, floating up in the air. Let them float, let them disappear. See you next year. That wasn't supposed to rhyme, that's just an accident. Okay, next. And so those are just 3 of the things that I didn't like personally about the tool, or specifically things that I wish could be improved along with my improvements. So this isn't just about crap talking Ryobi. If you're in the 18 volt line or the 40 volt line, maybe you're a landscaper, you have some other outdoor tools, whatever you have, this is not knocking you. This is not saying get rid of your tools. This is just telling Ryobi, I'm with you. Let's keep improving so that we can keep investing in your tools. That's all I'm saying. I don't go with being in one color, even though my favorite color is green. I don't subscribe to just Ryobi or anybody else. I go to whoever makes the best tools and whoever truly listens to their clients and their customers and all the construction workers and professionals who really need their tools to be reliable and not just be good, but also last a very long time, if possible. That being said, my last thing I'm going to complain about, don't get mad, batteries. Don't get mad. But I'm going to talk about pricing. This thing, again, right, nice 40 volt, right? These are not fakes. These are not Amazon. These are not knockoff. This is a real Ryobi battery. $200 for one of these, for the 4 amp. Now, the reason that's unacceptable is because I don't feel like paying $200 to get about 12 minutes of actual blowing time with my blower. That's crazy. Now, not only that, but it's $150 for a 2 amp hour batteries. That would probably give me roughly 5 or 6 minutes, potentially 10 minutes on a higher end if I'm not using turbo or using the lower modes. So that to me is crazy. The 6 amp is like $240 and then it's like almost $300 for the 7.5. It makes no sense. That's dumb. I'm not paying $150 to use my tool for 5 minutes and then spend 3 hours with your standard charging, if not more, waiting for them to recharge. You're out of your mind. Ryobi, you need to chill. There's no reason for you to spend, you know, almost $300, $250 for a 5 or 6 amp hour battery. That's dumb. That's it. I'm not being cheap. I'm just saying DeWalt, I can understand why DeWalt would charge $150 to $200 for a flex volt battery, which looks very similar, but it's specifically because of that flex volt nuance of being able to switch between 20 volt and 60 volt. So if I want to pop the battery out of my chainsaw, go for a few minutes with my pole saw, cut a couple branches down, and then get back to sawing some logs or some firewood, then yes, that makes sense. I'm able to transition. Now, if this thing was able to switch between 40 volts and 18 volts, again, Understandable. 200 whatever dollars? Yes, because I can use it with all my tools. If I can only use it with my 40 volt tools and I only have one or two, this is going to sit on a shelf until I need it. That's my rant. I'm done. Have a good day. Are you with the 18 volt line? Are you with the 40 volt line? Do you have both? Do you have any suggestions for what Ryobi should do with their stuff? I want to hear about it. Let me know. And until next time, work smart.